Okay, so we're going to present to you today this project we've been working on since March. We were able to do it because of the Solidarity Fund organized and that was given to us by the Critical Social Policy Journal. And we've been working on this collaboratively with 3 search groups that couldn't be present today with us. And then Tecnicas Rudas, that Dani and Itzel belong to, which is an NGO based in Puebla and Mexico City, 2 states in Mexico. And they have extensive year-long work with search groups. So we applied for this fund together, we crafted the project together, and these are the 3 groups that participated in the workshops that gave or are going to give birth to this dictionary. The project is the Illustrated Dictionary of the Search, and the collective groups that participated are Voz de los Desaparecidos Puebla, Regresando a Casa Morelos, and Las Rastreadoras de Sinaloa. These are 3 big search groups that have been structured for years now, at least 5 years, the youngest one, I think, and their work, we're going to talk about it a little bit in the following slides. So the context of this work is there's a human rights crisis in Mexico that is enabled or produced by a collection of different things. So one thing is a rise in organized crime that has been going on for years, but since 2006 with the war on drugs, it really got very raw and very violent. It's not only business kinda as it was before maybe, but it's really a kind of state structured or state-like structure that terrorizes the territory of the whole country, Mexico. Also institutional state apparatus that lots of the times it's working with organized crime, and when not, it's at least not able to solve the problem of organized crime, and sustained militarization policies that also, like I said, born, or as they were born during the war on drugs in 2006, or the official declaration 2008, and they've been making the situation worse instead of mitigating it or fixing it. So there's a structural violence scenario, and in this context, this appearance has become a generalized social control practice, and most of the times it goes on with impunity. So the scope of the crisis is that right now in Mexico, there's over 130,000 officially disappeared people in Mexico. This is just the official number in the state registry. And this reflects a humanitarian emergency and institutional collapse in the truth, justice, and non-repetition. So the fact that there is this amount of disappearances with not being found reflects a humanitarian emergency and reflects also the inability of the state to cope with this crisis. There's state collusion and policy failures that enable this crisis, re-victimization and criminalization of both disappeared people and the people searching for them, which is what this project kind of aims to work with, these groups of searchers. Public policies marked by indifference and authoritarianism. And this is evident in many ways, but one of them is that recent reforms, although they seem positive, they keep happening, excluding most of the search groups from the conversation. So search groups are taking on this huge task of searching and finding the disappeared, but they keep being sidelined and ignored in the official talks for legislation and reforms. So the civil society's response to this crisis is that many search collectives around the whole country have been getting together to search for the disappeared in many different ways. And the ways in which they're searching also respond to geographical areas the type of disappearance, because not all disappearance happens by organized crime, right? It just happens in a context where disappearance is possible. So there's disappearance of many different natures. So the family, or mostly families and mostly women that are related to the disappeared, have got together and started groups, started small groups or really big and organized, institutionalized in a way in their process, not that they work with institutions, groups, and they're looking for the disappeared and finding them way more than the state is. And along this, there's also been networks and collective resistance forming on the sites, which is groups like Tecnicas Rudas that are not directly family members, but they are advising, training, and strengthening these search groups. And one of the main things civil society is pushing for is challenging the narrative imposed by state-aligned actors. So it's not just teenagers that went through the wrong path and then their punishment is to disappear, right? It's all sorts of things, and even people involved as teenagers in organized crime, they shouldn't disappear. The country shouldn't have this crisis of disappearance. So changing the narrative is very important for the families and the groups working with the families. It's very important to name what's happening and why it's happening. And one of the main goals of these efforts, apart from obviously finding the disappeared, is dignifying the memory and pushing for hope. So the family struggle, this dignifies life, demands justice, and builds memory. And it sustains hope for a different, more humane reality in the country. And this is where Tecnicas Rudas comes into the picture. Their work is mostly on strengthening the search groups, but also changing the narratives, demanding justice, and making sure memory is maintained and honored as it should. Memory of the search and the memory of the disappeared too. So what is the Dictionary of the Search? This is a project that started a few years ago. The Tecnicas Rudas started this project, and this year we got together wanting to do something, and we identified that this is a big project that has a lot of potential to impact the narrative and also the search itself. So we kind of redrafted it, and with the help of the Solidarity Fund, we were able to carry it out, and this is why we're here today. So the Dictionary of the Search is a collective effort to keep living memory alive through victim-centered narratives. It's a tool to write othered history too, to name the disappeared and shape a more just future. And also very importantly, it aims to be a companion for new searchers that holds deep knowledge and heartfelt empathy in its words and illustrations. So it's a dictionary, as the title says, that tries to or aims to define the many different varied concepts that come into the search. So we got together with the families through three workshops that we held in March, one in Puebla, one in Morelos, and one in Sinaloa. And Tecnicas Rudas organized this two-part work towards defining the search. The first one is a literary work. So the families chose concepts that were important to their search. And after choosing them, they collectively came up with definitions, written definitions. For example, what is an illegal burial? What is a clandestine mass grave? What is the alive search, which is the search where it's not assumed that the person has passed or has been murdered, but it's searching for the people alive. So these are just three examples of some of the many, many concepts we got to define with the families, or the families defined through these workshops. So that's the first part. And then the second part is to illustrate them through drawings, but also collage and many other artistic techniques. That was the second day of each workshop. And they came up with really long list of concepts that we're working towards putting together and building the dictionary. We're working in the final version at the moment. It's going to be a digital version. And we're also at the moment working on an article about the project, which will explain more of the behind the project, why it comes to be, or why we think it's important. And we'll, try to bring the voices that participated in the project into a research article. And that's what's happening now. And what's next, we have our goal is a 3-part goal. The first one is to print the dictionary, to have this material archive for the families to have in their hands, and also for it to be a source of income for the search groups. The plan is to print it in a really good quality edition, and to give several copies back to each of the groups so they can sell it, or they can give it away to whoever they think needs it, or whoever they want to share it with. And this is supposed to be a source of income in some way. They have a few other publications. They've worked on poetry and a few other publications, and it's a big way in which they fund their activities. And then this is kind of in the short term. And then in the longer term, we would like to expand participation. It would be really great to be able to do this project in a more nationwide scope, to have different voices from all around the country coming into this archive of memory and also knowledge. And one final idea we have that we're working towards is organizing a transnational conference to bring scholars, but also families that are in the search together, not only from Mexico, but from different countries and different contexts, to bring people around the topic together, so we can exchange good practices, experiences, training, etc. So this is how it's going so far. And I don't know if Dani and Itzel have something else that I may have missed or something to complement.
Ana, muchas gracias por la presentación. A mí solamente me gustaría sumar que, por una parte, el mismo taller, la influencia que tiene el taller en las y los familiares, como este trabajo, pues también tiene un trabajo de apropiación, de nombrar, de decir, un trabajo de un resarcimiento. Eso sería como por una parte. Y otra que también es una gran apuesta al arte como formas de resistencia, de existencia y de construir un mundo totalmente diferente.
Yeah, so what Itzel just said, that it's very important to know too, is the effect or the impact that the workshops themselves have in the families. How taking back the knowledge that it's theirs, and it's not usually considered knowledge and not usually honored as their own knowledge production. These workshops also in practice, while we're in the workshop, it's a very strong, very powerful exercise of just acknowledging this production of knowledge. So that's, another kind of side or effect that this dictionary has. And the second thing she wanted to point out is that it's also an effort to see art and the impact and the possibilities of living through the arts as a way of living differently and curating a world that it's different and allows for difference and allows for justice for everyone. So it's also kind of a way to reinforce that art is a way of living different and better, and it's not just a tool but a space itself where this transformation can happen.